All right, let's do it live on a Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z. This is kind of like a COVID throwback edition. We're all remote.
It is. It is. How are you doing, dude? Are you feeling okay?
I feel fine. Bootsy got nicked. So last night.
Second go-around.
Second go-around. Yeah.
Ugh.
So he had a really rough weekend, and then he got clipped probably, let's see, his last practice was when he turned down the opportunity to go to Lulu's and get frozen yogurt with all sorts of toppings. Once that happened, I said, something's not right. It's not right. If this is a guy who does not turn down a snack.
Yep.
And if he's turning down a snack, something's not right. So we took him in today, and sure enough, strep.
I'm sorry, brother.
Add that to the joy of what it, and it basically it snowed for like what amounts to about 12 hours straight.
Yep.
Did you get that?
It was supposed to stop at 9 a.m. yesterday. How's that going? Because it's still snowing here.
Yeah,
It's
not so much.
A relentless pursuit of more snow accumulation. You sound better.
Yeah, definitely feeling better. It's getting closer. It's weird. When I did the really big show this morning, I feel like I sounded terrible. But right now, I feel like I'm okay.
Yeah, you sound very good right now.
Yeah.
Seems very solid. How did that go on RBS? Did you have a little fun?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Just, obviously talking about the most important thing, facing this organization. And that's the quarterback position and the draft that's coming up and the fact that you have the second pick in the draft. So college football, Nate's heyday really began about 4 months ago, although his knowledge is deep and vast. But can you maybe help me and remind me, because I don't know, what was the state of Colorado's program prior to Deion and Shador and Travis Hunter going there 2 years ago?
You could make a very straightforward and accurate argument that it was the worst college football Power 5 program in America.
And how many games would you say over the last 2 seasons, we'll call it like even conference, take, when you play like some jabroni squad, but where Colorado's talent equated to the opponent's in their top 22?
Just do too deep. Where they were equal to it?
Yeah, just would you say that they were more often the better team, equal team, or worse team?
No. I'd have to look at it, absolutely. But I think when I gave you your when we did the
more
homework
often the worst
assignment,
team.
I said that there were about 4 or 5 teams last year that they would walk into a room and say, all right, we can punch at this weight class.
Yep.
Now, they have 2 elite players in Hunter and Shador, and those 2 players would start anywhere.
Yep.
But this isn't basketball. It's football, and you need to have lines of scrimmage, and you need to have all of the other things that are prerequisites to be able to win. So I would say they were closer last year, but probably still only half of the games they were, at a point where they were punching their own weight. The year before, in the last year of the Pac-12, when the Pac-12 had Washington and Oregon, and Oregon State was really good that year. Washington State had Cam Ward. They were really good that year. Caleb Williams was at USC. Utah was a 10-win team with Cam Rising. I would say that in their conference games they played, there probably was only 1 or 2 where they were on equal footing. All the rest, they were punching way up.
Yeah, so I've been watching. So that's some of the things like you should have seen. Whenever he played a team that was better than him, he was terrible. But the majority of the games he played were against teams that were better than them, and he was quite good.
Yeah, people don't understand what happened there. Like if you don't follow college football, you just don't have any idea of the dire straits that program was in, and quite honestly, the undertaking that Deion Sanders, what he took on.
Yep.
And the fact that they were on the cusp of the playoff this year is, quite honestly, otherworldly. I mean, you watch their games. I probably watched 10 or 12 Colorado games the last 2 years. They were the team I rooted for as a kid. They were the best, closest team to me. So that was my dream school, wanted to go, all of that. And so I watched them very closely and probably watched them a dozen times over the last 2 years. And for they cannot block it, and they haven't really even attempted to run it because they can't block it.
They can't.
And so he just has to make things happen.
So that was part of it. And then the other thing that I've run into is I'm not sure people, and I understand this if you're typically watching the NFL, I don't think people understand how rushing yards work in college as it relates to quarterbacks.
No, I don't think so. No.
Every sack is for whatever reason,
sack
and
is
I
a
don't
rush.
know why they do that. It doesn't make any sense to me. But sacks are counted as the quarterback's rushing yards. So every time a quarterback gets sacked for negative 10 yards, it's as though they are treated as though they ran for negative 10 yards, which makes some of the totals of, say, a Lamar Jackson or a Jalen Hurts or even John Football back in the day all the more impressive.
Yes.
But when you see a guy like Shador have a negative 50 yards for a season, that doesn't mean he couldn't run because he picked up plenty of first downs with his legs. What it means is he is a pocket passer first, and that he was sacked a ton, which we know to be true.
Yes. Yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around.
So these are the things that, I mean,
these are the things
not,
we're fighting.
Yes, these are not hard. Like
no.
Jordan Reed, who we like a great deal, and I'm sure will join the program at the Combine, was talking today. So Cam's his number one quarterback, Shador's his number two. He said those two guys are absolutely both starters and guys that you can build around this court. He said those are the top two in this draft, and they're two that are worthy of being picked. And he said, I would put Cam, kind of as the bridge between, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
And he said Shador would he be right there, and you could make basically the argument to pick either one of these three guys first, but Shador, Penix, and Bo Nix.
Yeah.
I would say right now Atlanta is very happy that they have Michael Penix, and Denver is very happy that they have Bo Nix.
Yeah.
So
feels like a win.
It feels like a win. I don't know where Todd McShay is getting his. I'm hearing they're not taking a quarterback.
I had to explain this to it's funny. I had to explain this to the boys. This is actually just yesterday, Beamsy. So he was he asked me, this was the, I can't remember the exact, I want to say it had something to do with Miles, but it was something to the effect of, Dad, we're trading Miles to the Bears. And I said, no, we're not trading Miles to the Bears. And he said, well, yeah, we are. I saw it on SportsCenter. And I said, okay, so not everything on SportsCenter is the news. Some of it is, where could you see him landing or what spots would make sense?
Right.
And so it's very similar to the conversation I used to have with my dad about cable news, that there was a difference between the news of the day and the opinion of the day.
Opinion of the day, yep.
That they're two different things. So one is, this is what happened today. The other is, here's how I'm shaping what happened. And so that's it. So when we have these conversations around quarterbacks and you have the type of dialogue that we have about it, what is actually news versus what is opinion? And the thing that drives me nuts about when you hear about like this, I know we're going to play this, the McShay bit about what he's hearing. When you put a qualifier like what I'm hearing, it's completely open-ended.
Totally.
He could be hearing it from his barber.
Yeah.
That's not what he's insinuating.
Sure.
But that's what it could be. And you see it all of the time with NBA trades or hearing someone's unhappy. All of those are coming from a place where there's motivation for those to come from.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not the news. So when Todd does that, I'm hearing, well, from whom? Whom? Like, no one in our operation is talking to anybody.
I certainly would hope not.
We haven't even been able to look at people in the eye in the lead up to this. Like, I haven't seen Kevin or AB in a month.
No.
I don't know where you know what I mean?
We'll see
they're bunkered in.
We'll see him at the Combine, that's for sure.
But they're bunkered in, man.
Of course.
So, yeah, the other thing that really bothers me about all of this is just this notion that there are sure things in the draft, because there aren't. They don't exist. Travis Hunter is not a sure thing. He's not. No. Do I think Travis Hunter will play in the league for a long time? Absolutely. Do I think he'll make an immediate impact? Sure. Do I know for certain? No, I don't.
Yep.
I don't. Yep. And I don't know that Abdul Carter is going to be whatever percentage of Miles. We have no idea what that could be. It's a wide range. You just don't know until you know. And so there isn't. I think you have to organizationally. I'm sure they're already there, but just from a fan base perspective, you have to get rid of your fear of failure in the draft.
Yeah.
It does you no good.
No. And it is more likely that a quarterback taken in the top 10 or 12, and I say 12 because of Mahomes, or because of Deshaun Watson, when he came out, he was 12th, and there have been some people in that 10-12 range that have been good. It's just more likely that a quarterback picked there is going to be good than a quarterback picked anywhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is. These are just the facts of the matter.
Yeah.
We have that opportunity. And listen, if it somehow is the consensus that they think the Browns as an organization think every quarterback in this draft stinks. I mean, obviously you don't take one just to do it, but I would be shocked if that was the conclusion that they drew.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of people that were, and I've said it all along. I've always thought Cam Ward was the more talented of the two quarterbacks, just in raw talent.
Sure.
I like Shador, and I think what he is best at fits very, very well with what we are going to be as an offense.
Yeah.
So I like that very much. And I think we have two excellent opportunities as a result of that.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Here you are. Why wouldn't you still do that? And I see all the things now that they're like, oh, these guys would be quarterbacks 5 and 7 in the draft last year with Bo Nix,
So?
Penix.
All right.
If Kirk Cousins is gone, that tells you all you need to know about what they think about Penix in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And in my mind, why wouldn't they just, honest to goodness, why wouldn't they just keep Kirk Cousins? They have to pay him all that money anyway. Would you rather have it be dead money, or would you rather have him be on your team in case Penix got hurt? I'd probably have the latter. So they're in a good spot, and then obviously Denver's very happy with Bo Nix.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no certainties at any position. There isn't.
No.
And there's a lot of revisionist history around Jaden Daniels that you and I have talked about ad nauseum in terms of the way he was viewed. So it's circumstance that you paratroop into. It's a minimum level of talent that you must have, and certainly those two absolutely have that at the top with Cam and Shador. And then beyond that, there could be others. There could be. Who knows if Will Howard and what he did the last month of his season at Ohio State in the right spot could thrive and play for a long time.
Bring
in the
it
league.
too.
Who knows about Jackson Dart? Who knows about Quinn Ewers? Dylan Gabriel.
Shuck.
Gabriel, obviously, arm strength's an issue, but you just don't know.
People like
you don't
Shuck.
know until they get in the right spot. Like everybody in this league passed on Brock Purdy multiple times.
Yep.
So nobody knew anything. And he worked out just fine.
Shuck was at, Louisville?
Yeah.
Yeah, people like him. Greg Cosell likes him. I'm excited to talk to
Big
him
arm.
about, again, I'm fine with two of them.
Yeah.
Just is, this, in my opinion, is going to be a very, I think this is a very huge, it's a huge draft for this franchise. This asset that they have is one that they hope to not have maybe ever again. And so it has to result in a real swing at a rookie quarterback, I think.
I agree. And I think it's also because of the way that our roster is built and the way that the end of the season went, it's a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Yes.
It's an incredible asset that had this season finished, if you finish with 5 or 6 wins, you don't have.
And we're not a team that can bring in, even though let's say the Sam Darnold or even Baker with Tampa, where you bring them in at, $5 million, they're really good, and then you are like, all right, I'll pay you 30.
Yeah.
We can't do that. Mm-mm. So the idea of, like, if we had our dome already, Cousins and Shador would be, and I think that would be electric. Cousins, I'd have no problem with saying, okay, we can bring him in. He can start even right away. But we don't have a dome.
No.
So Cousins makes me a little nervous coming here at this stage in his career.
Yeah.
I've been a big fan of Kirk Cousins. I have benefited from his abilities in fantasy football for many years. But that if you get his best, are we a team that's going to go compete for the division with Kirk Cousins? I don't know. Are we going to compete for the Super Bowl? No. And he certainly doesn't have a long-term future here. I mean, that's obvious.
No.
I think the idea of being able to have a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal that becomes good solves a lot of our problems from a money standpoint, from just the fact that we need a quarterback period standpoint. So, I want to see it. The idea that you take a defensive player, and we're going to go through a mock today that I'd be very happy with the outcome. I don't see it happening in the real world.
Me either. No, me either.
But I also wouldn't want to pick at quarterback at number 22 again.
No.
That's an 0 for 3 for us. You need you have this opportunity. You have this opportunity. There is clearly, and you could go talk yourself in the negatives of both of these guys for sure, but there are enough positives that with this coaching staff, the 2-time coach of the year, Tommy Rees, Bill Musgrave, you've got to feel like you have an environment that can get the best out of these quarterbacks.
Dude, it's a quarterback-friendly offense. It is just look at how quickly Purdy came along. If you are highly intellectual, you get schemed open.
Yep.
And it's flip ahead and throw it where you're supposed to.
Yep.
And the guys who can do that thrive. And yeah, for sure. You talk about Musgrave. Think about what Tommy did with Milroe at Alabama. You think about all of the things Bill Musgrave's seen in his career. We know what Stefanski did and what the offense was like at various points with Kevin. One of Baker's best seasons his first year with Kevin. So all of those things check out. And I'm with you on all of it. And I think it's an incredible opportunity. And I think it's a get-out-of-jail-free card, and I think it's one of those things where what was going to seem quite daunting, and it is. You're a 3-win football team. You got to own what you are, and that's what you are. But what seemed like a very difficult, long time to get back to being really excited about a team heading in the right direction can get flipped now in April, right back into being very excited about all of it and having – not only just the excitement in terms of everything that comes with that, but also from the standpoint of now perhaps a long-term final answer at the position.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
By
the way, Enough from the Clown wants to know what Gibbe thinks. Gibbe, what is your stance on the quarterback
trying
position?
To keep his head above water without getting sick.
Not get sick is right. You can tune in next week to the debut of the BPA.
Oh, baby.
There you go.
Who's on
When's that dropping?
We'll have 2 episodes next week from the NFL Combine.
Who is it that you're going to start taking all the good guests for? You and who else?
Mr. Siciliano will be joining me this year.
There you go.
Look, I give me a quarterback, please. That's all. We're all on the same page. Man. We're on the same page.
We are. Do you think that you guys will have the just raw passion, the almost nuclear?
You mean the clip that went viral that you were all worried about?
Excuse me?
The clip that
There's
went
an electric
viral?
factory that you're trying to duplicate.
Yes, the Ibs boys.
I can't.
Is this going to be a new? Is this going to be a new gang that we have to contend with? Gibbe and Siciliano.
I don't have an answer for that yet.
Dude, I forgot about the Ibs boys.
Dude, the Ibs boys were formidable.
Ibs boys, it was a hell of a gang.
Yeah.
Still one of the greatest on my outtakes folder because there is a folder of a lot of things.
I bet.
The Grant Delpit, the first time he ever appeared on anything, and Bo going, like, it's the last segment of the show. Bo's like, hey, be sure to tune in to the best podcast available this week on the BPA. The hell I'm going to read that. The next level's next. and you were done.
And it was appropriate.
No one even knew who it was going to be.
Yeah.
He was our guy. Like, that was the guy we had. We loved Delpit. He was our guy. Next thing I know, he's on the PPA.
What are we going to call them? Because the Ibs boys worked it was so natural.
Yeah. We'll come up. We'll get it. I think we'll find one.
I like Gabiliano.
Gabiliano.
I like it. I like it. You like your knees?
That's not bad.
Taking you out.
On our team, some news of yesterday from Jeremy Fowler. Dawand Jones reportedly recently underwent arthroscopic knee surgery to address a lingering issue he played through last season. This is in addition to the recovery from the fractured left fibula. Jones is expected to be ready for the start of training camp. Dawand's at a point where it's a no fault of your own if you're injured or not, but availability has got to be top on his list of abilities this year.
Totally. but I like the fact that, you know what, you know that you have a rehab coming back from get yourself as fixed and ready as you can be. You know, because we saw even, you know, Joel a couple of years ago, who's an absolute Iron Man and stud, thought, I can get through this. I better get the scope, you know, during the bye week. I should be able to be back, and then ended up missing that game against the Niners. Take care of it all in the offseason. Take care of all of it in the offseason.
Yeah, and we see Dawand all the time, so we know.
Yeah, he knows he's good spirits. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You watched hockey last night.
I did. I sure did. By the way,
when's the last time
that I watched a hockey game like that?
Yeah.
I don't have a recollection for you. So what I did was, we watched this. I even watched some of the pregame. I was digging it. Miss K was blowing. She's like, "What, hockey, huh?" I'm like, "You haven't heard about this?" I'm curious. I hope that it did well.
I'm sure it did.
It feels like it did. It was an electric atmosphere. So I watched this, and then I have to shout out whoever the listener was that told us that Severance actually drops at 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. So I watched the first period, 1-1. Second period, I was able to throw on the second TV while Severance was on and at least glance over, see the 2-2. Third period, watched live, which was no goals, and then obviously watched overtime live. But that's certainly the most continuous hockey I've watched in I don't know, maybe ever. Could be potentially, could be ever. It was awesome. It was awesome. By the way, Severance last night, that episode.
Also awesome.
Jeez. It's just.
Are you aware? This is the thing. I don't know how many people are aware of this.
Yeah.
Do you know when this event was created? The Four Nations Face-Off?
This year?
It was announced a little more than a year ago. Announced.
Yeah.
They weren't even sure exactly what the format would be.
No, and
they just knew that they were going back to the Olympics in Italy in 2026, and the NHLPA wanted to do best on best more often, and so they created this. I mean, they created this event. I mean, that trophy that Sidney Crosby got last night, that is a trophy that, I mean, like on the day of the game, we're like, oh my God, we got to get a trophy. Go down to the trophy store because he carried it around like it was the cup. It just made it up. Like, it's not like it's been around for 100 years. Like, it was a made-up trophy at a made-up event. But when you get – there's so many things that worked for him. One, you get a hole after the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Or there's a window. You get an NBA that didn't take its All-Star weekend very seriously. So you have opportunity there. And then you get a little bit of just luck. Like – If the game between Canada and the United States on Saturday doesn't start with 3 fights, does the game last night have the attention?
Or
No.
the U.S. winning. So
That
Canada
part
had
too.
won 26 straight international contests with Sidney Crosby.
Yeah. That was his
before
first
that
one.
loss to the U.S.
Yeah. So you get the fights, you get the
Totally.
USA winning, and then you get the rematch. We're not watching if it's USA Finland or USA Sweden.
No.
And you certainly aren't, maybe, I mean, but probably not. You're definitely not watching if it's Canada against the other two or the two Scandinavian countries. So the only way that it works the way that it did is if you have what happened Saturday with us beating Canada and starting with fights. The fights were a huge part of it. That created a lot of attention. And then you get the rematch in the final.
Yep.
So it was the perfect storm for them.
Yep. It really was. And it was incredibly captivating television. The pregame was awesome. And I thought what was so interesting about it is they even said kind of in the locker rooms before this started, nobody knew really what it was going to be. But it was like something snapped when they started playing for their country. And they went at it like it was the Olympics or the World Cup of hockey, which is that still a thing, the World Cup of hockey, or is that
they're bringing it back? So they're going to, the way that they set this up is they're going to do one of these every 2 years.
Okay.
So they'll have a best on best competition every 2 years. So this year was the Four Nations. 2 years from now will be the Olympics. 2028 will be the World Cup. 2030 will be the Olympics again. So they're going to set it up to where there is best on best every 2 years, and I think that's brilliant. I think it's like cake. You don't need to eat the whole cake. Have
Agreed.
a piece, and it's spectacular. And then I'll see you in a little bit. That's the way they got to treat this thing.
So when will the
overdo it.
Four Nations be again?
I don't know. Because obviously one of the nations that would have been in this and would have been a co-favorite with Canada is Russia.
Russia, yeah,
and they can't compete. So at some point, it probably will go beyond 4 nations. It'll probably go to 8, and maybe that's how they just shoehorn the World Cup into it. But no, it was spectacular, and it was almost perfect for. And I understand that there's not a ton of crossover, but obviously the Monsters are here and they're an affiliate of the Blue Jackets. So Mike Eruzione, who scored the game-winning goal for the '80 Olympic team, he came out in a Johnny Gaudreau jersey.
Yes.
And then in the third period, the Blue Jackets' former winger was honored with chants of Johnny Hockey going around the stadium.
Yeah.
And so and then to Zach Werenski, who's a superstar defenseman for them, he had the puck on his stick with a laser at net in overtime. Not quite as good as the two Austin Matthews chances, but it was pretty good chance, and he just missed. So it was so close to perfect.
First of all, it was riveting television, the overtime. Mm-hmm. And the U.S., to your point, had so many chances. But you've got to give some props to the goalie for Canada, because a couple of those glove saves, like perfect snags, are incredible. When I don't know about you, but I guess because I am not a seasoned hockey watcher, it's sometimes hard to even know where the heck the puck is.
It is, yeah. It's the biggest. I think it's the biggest problem for the sport in terms of going over to the non-hockey fan is for people who don't watch a lot of hockey. You don't even know where the puck is.
You only know really if it goes in based on their reactions. You can't actually
see it. Now in the arena you can see it.
Sure.
But on television, even with HD TV, they've never been able to.
Yeah, they tried that tracer thing for a while, and that was distracting. But it was their goalie, and I'm going to dip into my hockey knowledge.
While you talk about the goalie, a certain friend of ours reached out and wanted to make sure that you two were able to bask in his joy and glow. Yeah. And Kev, if you can go ahead, if you have that standing by, if you want to talk about the Canadian goalie. Someone sends his regards and wanted to make sure that we bask.
Is this from the ambassador? We were on our text chain with him. We gave him his props.
So we got it. Now we're doing "Oh Canada."
What are you doing, Gibbe?
I'm just saying.
My hand was forced, guys.
It was a favor?
No, it wasn't.
First of all, I love the Canadians.
It's a wonderful.
Absolutely. I love a little Rickards Red and a little Molson Canadian. Let's go.
You're not even allowed in the country, dude. They didn't even allow you in, and you're playing their anthem now on our show in the United States of America on a day where we lost to Canada.
Who's not allowed into the country? I'm allowed into the country.
No, you were held up once.
Well,
held up once.
That was because one of my idiot friends. So
look,
is this really happening right now?
You can turn it down.
I'll tell you
you're
this
good.
From their
side. He just wanted to send his regards because he said.
Yeah, I bet he did. Yeah. I bet he did. I'll tell. Hey, by the way, that same fine gentleman. At some point, there was a jersey bet that I made with him, where the Blue Jackets are playing the Leafs. That was in COVID. I'm still waiting to be paid up on that. I mean, that's been a while. If we're gonna start calling out debts.
Yeah.
That's the easiest goal Connor McDavid has ever made to win a hockey game in his life. How the best player on the planet is not guarded.
He wasn't marked in the.
He wasn't marked at all.
At all.
It was just the easiest flick of his life. It's like, of all the people you cannot lose, number 97 is the one. Don't lose him.
So, before I was rudely interrupted by somebody who's probably celebrating the closing of Hooters today, a non-patriot.
Non-patriot.
I'm like still stunned. I was going to dip into my hockey knowledge.
Yeah.
And I thought that performance was reminiscent of the Dominator, Dominik Hasek, It was reminiscent of The Wall, Arturs Urbe, when he was at his best with the San Jose Sharks. Patrick Waugh.
Patrick Waugh. Come on, baby.
A little Ronnie Hextall.
Yeah.
Ole the goalie. Eddie the Eagle. I mean, this was that guy. That is what he did in that overtime.
Is this Hockey Nate?
This is Hockey Nate.
Nate's out there, baby.
Oh, my
Hockey
God.
Nate had a strong knowledge from through the 90s, just from playing the game,
Yeah.
which was a great source of income for college Nate. What a star! It's a star. That guy is going to be a hero forever. The goalie,
And it was
because
really one of their biggest weaknesses throughout. Was
totally.
the
Totally.
goaltending.
But he
Yeah.
showed up in the biggest moments because there were 3 real shots that he made bonker saves on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the one lesson Americans can learn is in an overtime of an international competition and final against Canada, as good as he may be, you do not want the puck on the stick of a Montreal Canadian. Austin Matthews twice, baby. Bury one. Send one home. Send one home, buddy.
Guy's an elite goal scorer.
go.
Scored 60 plus.
Send one home.
I know.
Not so much. So, but it was great. It was really good, and it's a good job out of the NHL to be able to capitalize on this because they absolutely have. Those are your hot topics of the day, presented by University Hospital, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. Coming up next, you'll hear Todd McShay on why he's hearing the Browns will not take a quarterback at number 2. We'll also hit you with a mock draft from Tom Fornelli. We're off and running on a Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Hey, Browns fans, this month's winner of the local business platform presented by Minuteman is Redbeard Seasonings. Redbeard Seasoning started as a hobby in a home kitchen and has since blossomed into a collection of original recipe flavors, pepper sauce, steak and brisket chips, and even coffee. Check them out today. To learn more at the local business platform, visit browns.com/community/local business platform. Todd McShay, NFL draft analyst, formerly of ESPN, now at The Ringer and a part of the Todd McShay Show, had this to say about what he's hearing about what the Browns could be doing at number 2.
They're not pulling the trigger on a quarterback here at 2. I've heard from multiple sources, the same multiple sources, that they don't believe that this is the year to do that they're not a quarterback in this class away. Had it been last year's class, they feel really good. With that in mind, I went with Travis Hunter. In this scenario, I think Cleveland could take Travis Hunter, the cornerback wide receiver out of Colorado. I also want to say this. I've now heard from 2 different people that Kirk Cousins could be brought in on the cheap this offseason kind of as a stopgap.
A stopgap for what?
To where?
To where? To what end? What are we doing?
Here's the, trade down, take Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, crap. When are you going to actually address the quarterback position? If not now, when?
And how?
And by the way, there's no guarantee this works out. But if it doesn't, then you're going to do it again. Getting that stopgap quarterback that puts you into the 9-8, best case scenario, 10-7, bounced in the first round, bounced in the divisional round, then you're never. Where are you getting this quarterback?
When are you getting this quarterback, and how? When are you going to be in a position to land one? Do you know just think about the sheer luck that it took for the Baltimore Ravens to land Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
Just think about that.
Yeah.
Think about the Pittsburgh Steelers, who haven't had a losing record since Tomlin's been there, but haven't won a playoff game as recently as we have. They landed Roethlisberger, and they've been chasing it since.
Yep.
Because there's only so much you can do without it. When I hear people say that, this isn't the year to go get it, and maybe this is their belief. Like, you don't just take a guy to take a guy. But the problem here with the McShay mock, and probably this one that we're going to get into from Tom Fornelli as well, is I'm pretty sure the McShay mock has Shedeur going third.
It does.
So if it's good enough for the Giants at 3, and they're thrilled about it, why wouldn't it be good enough for the Browns at 2?
Or the Raiders at 6, where Tom Brady is convinced that he has the skills that are necessary to be an elite quarterback. Like, now the mock that we're going to talk about in a second, I don't see that happening. If it did, great. But I don't. First of all, I don't actually not great, because I don't want to trade Myles Garrett. But
let's go through that. So here is a mock from Tom Fornelli of CBS Sports. It has us taking Abdul Carter number 2 overall, and they write the
Giants going to 1 to take Cam Ward.
Right.
By the way, if we're let's just say, and I'm playing hypothetical, okay? Mm-hmm. Let's just say that Cam Ward is we only like Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Then get to number 1, because I'll tell you what, we were in this exact scenario in the year 2016 when all we liked was Jared Goff, and we let somebody else jump us. If we're that convinced that it's Cam Ward only, and we're worried about somebody jumping us for Cam Ward, or worried about Tennessee taking him, and by the way, if Tennessee's willing to trade, that means that they're not taking a quarterback, is my read on it, to be honest.
Agree. Yeah.
Then just
Go
give
get
them some. Fine, we'll give you a 2nd and 26, and you have the second pick of the draft still. You're going to get the same player you would have picked first.
Yep. No doubt.
Just do it then. Because when the Rams jumped us for Jared Goff and he took them to a Super Bowl, we then traded out. We traded back to 8. We then traded back from 8 to 16. We ended up with Corey Coleman and a bunch of stuff that didn't mean anything for us.
Right. No, I'm with you. If there's
now,
one you
it
love,
could
go
have,
get him.
because those extra picks became, I think, that's why we had the 2 extra firsts the next year. But we didn't take the quarterback, even then. we didn't take the quarterback. We had 3 first-round picks that year and didn't take quarterback till the second round in Deshaun Kaiser, who needed to go somewhere else or play behind an actual bridge veteran.
Yes. Yeah. So they've got the Giants coming up for Cam, he does. Then he has us taking Abdul Carter and writes, the battle for the best player in this class is between Carter and Hunter. After Cleveland trades Myles Garrett, it drafts his replacement while picking up an additional draft capital. So according to him, the trade that he put together was us trading Myles to the Chargers for the 22nd overall pick and more draft capital, and using the 22 pick on Shedeur Sanders, who, as he writes, somehow is still on the board. Didn't plan for this, but with Shedeur Sanders slipping, Cleveland's able to replace Myles Garrett with its first pick of the day and then snag quarterback of the future with one of the first it got from the Chargers in the Garrett trade.
All right, first of all, I don't think Shedeur is going to be on the board at 22. Second of all, if the Browns are going to trade Myles Garrett, and again, I don't believe they will, they don't want to, it's not going to happen until after June 1st. Mm-mm. It's not going to happen in time for this draft. Mm-mm. So there's a lot of this that doesn't make sense. The Raiders, the Giants, they would. It's just, I don't see this. I don't see this scenario happening as it unfolds.
No. But look, I mean, this is the time of year where, there's the first mock that comes out before the Senior Bowl. Usually everybody's second mock comes out right before the Combine. Then there will be a third mock that comes, right around free agency. And then there will be a final one that happens in April. But to the point of Shedeur Sanders slipping, he would have to slip. Just think of this, bud. Not only – so they trade out of 1, Tennessee does. They go down to 3. So then they wouldn't take him at 3, right? So they would pass on him at 3. The Raiders would pass on him at 6. The Jets would pass on him at 7. The Saints would pass on him at 9. That's 4 – kind of need quarterback now, and they're all going to pass. I don't see it. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it.
So, I think that's largely nonsensical on that side of things. Around the AFC North, they had the Bengals taking Ty Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. The Steelers taking quarterback Jahdae Barron out of Texas. He was the Thorpe Award winner. And then the Ravens taking a defensive end out of Ole Miss at 27. So there's where you stand on that. We'll go around the sports world coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Add more fun to your fan with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download today. Get $50 back in bonus bets when you place your first bet of 10 or more. Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Cowboys 7-time first-team All-Pro guard Zach Martin is shutting it down. He's going to walk straight in, right? He's the new benchmark for guard.
Straight in, yeah. Tied for the most first-team All-Pros ever at the guard position with 7 of them. There was a crazy stat, and I know Joe Thomas posted about it, I posted about it, that he has more first-team All-Pros than he has holding calls that were accepted in his career. 9 All-Pro selections, so I guess that's counting second team. So 9 All-Pro selections, 7 accepted holding penalties in his career.
That's pretty amazing. That's like there's like a Tony Gwynn stat like that about the amount of times he struck out.
Oh, yeah, nuts.
Yeah, there's when you get those ones that just defy all logic.
Hoff said, I'm having a hard time even believing it. I think I had more than 7 holding calls in my career that were falsely attributed to me.
I guarantee you the Hoff can remember every single holding call that was ever called against him. I promise you. Yeah.
I've seen the Hoff receive a lot of good news and be in a lot of awesome situations. The happiest I've ever seen him was at the joint practices in Philadelphia when we were standing there. It was me, Hoff, and Lane Johnson. Mm-hmm. And Sarah Thomas came over to talk to our group, and she told him that she had gone back and watched some of his tape and that she was wrong for calling some of the false starts on him that she called. It was like he had
greatest
been told,
moment ever.
I mean, I've
Like
never
birth
seen,
of a child.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And he even said, this is the greatest moment of my life because I know. Because he's like, I know.
I know I did false start.
Yeah. But he's like, he was so happy that she said that.
That is great. In the baseball world, the Yankees have changed a team policy that has stood in place since 1976. This team will now allow well-groomed beards. Now, I have had a beard since I've stopped doing daily television. I enjoy it tremendously. Not shaving every day is great. But at the same time, this is a quirky, weird little thing that they have that I'm going to miss. I kind of like the idea that this is how they did it.
Agree. It's insane to me that it was a rule. Sure. But since it is cool. It is cool. They have a bunch of traditional stuff, right? They don't have names on the back of the unis.
No.
Yeah, I think part of it's pretty. I like that.
Yeah, I did too. I like that. Like when Garrett Cole went there, you can go there, but you got to shave it. And Randy Johnson too.
Yep.
They did amend it to where I think they could always have mustaches. Was that correct? Because Mattingly wore a mustache there.
Yeah, Donnie Baseball definitely had a mustache.
Yeah, mustaches were allowed.
Yeah,
mustaches were allowed, but
no beards.
No facial hair. Yeah. Yeah, so no beards, rather. So I'll miss it. I think it was a silly rule to your point to begin with, but I do think it was kind of like their silly, quirky rule, and I was kind of for it. This is a monster story in the sports media world. ESPN is opting out of their contract with Major League Baseball. This will start in 2026. The network will no longer broadcast Major League Baseball games. ESPN asked Major League Baseball to accept a lower licensing fee because the broadcasters have been losing money on the $550 million a year deal. After the talks broke down, ESPN triggered its opt-out clause to terminate the contract, which is due to expire in 2028. Now, Manfred went on the attack with this and got quite personal with it a little bit, so obviously he's pretty salty about it.
Yep.
It tells you where all the rest of these sports are nationally.
Yep.
That some of these providers, some of these carriers, these partners, these television partners, these streaming partners, they accepted too high of a rate for what they're getting back in terms of ratings. And Major League Baseball, the NHL, NBA, they are incredibly regional sports. If you have a team in your market, you care dramatically about it, but you don't care about teams that aren't in the market. Other than the diehards. Diehards will watch anything, but the casual sports fan doesn't. And really only NFL, college football second. They're the only two that are maintaining or growing audience.
Right. And what is interesting is that deal, though, if I think I saw a tweet about this, pales in comparison to what they're paying for the NBA.
Yes.
Which can't possibly be.
The one thing NBA, and this is the only thing that I'm curious about, the NBA's kind of the worldview of the NBA maybe provides more value. And there probably isn't a worldview of baseball. There's a far east view of baseball, but there isn't a worldview. And I also don't know the distribution. I'd be out of my depth to try and talk about what rights ESPN has on baseball around the world compared to what rights they have on basketball around the world. But that's my guess as why the NBA, even though they're paying dramatically more for it, is something that they'd rather stay in the business with. That's my guess.
Yep.
Well, and now they're going to have the Inside the NBA crew, the TNT crew.
I know, and that's going to cost a ton of money. And I'll tell you what. I mean, the number I saw was that the NBA contract's 5x that of the baseball contract.
Yeah, I think it's 2.5, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out the last time. I mean, I think my entire life, Sunday Night Baseball has always been ESPN.
Always.
I don't think that's never.
Johnny Miller and
Joe Morgan.
Yeah. Harold Reynolds after that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. It was Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah. I think it's pretty crazy that's going to go.
Yeah, it's a monumental change. Baseball's got to be careful, too. I mean, you can ask the NHL what happens when you go at it alone and you end up in a closet and you don't have – I understand it's not what it used to be. You know, in terms of cable subscribers, it's there was 100 million 6-7 years ago. There's 60-some million now. I get it. It's less. But at the same time, it still has the biggest reach of any entity in sports entertainment by far. And to be in business on ESPN is a tough thing for Major League Baseball.
Well, and given the recent debacles with the regional TV packages.
Right.
You know, I mean, the fact you couldn't watch a Guardians game
right,
unless you went somewhere, went to a bar, or you had to have one different specific cable company to go and watch games.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
All right, second hour of the program coming up next. We continue our tour around the AFC with the defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. Gets his perspective on that coming up next. The mailbag is open as well today. Final hour of the week coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, second hour here of the program on a Friday edition. We continue our tour around the AFC, off-season preview, in-season review with Jesse Newell, a Kansas City Star, joining us on the Twisted Tea Hotline, presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it Twisted, Cleveland. Jesse, thank you so much for taking the time. Let's just start with this notion of not winning the final game in Kansas City. How did that sit with the roster? How did that sit with the coaching staff in terms of what happened in the Super Bowl?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's disappointing, obviously. I think the biggest thing for the Chiefs, and, this is, obviously first world problems here in Kansas City, but, the chance for history. I mean, they had the chance to do something in a 50-50 game, to do something nobody ever done, but obviously, frustration with how it turned out, and I don't think anybody really imagined it was going to be that kind of blowout. So it sort of does reset what potentially they'll be looking for in free agency and the draft, just based off how that game played out and how poorly it turned out for the Chiefs offensively in that particular game against the Eagles.
What changes do you expect coming out of this for the Kansas City Chiefs, team that's not used to this type of a scenario? It's happened twice, both times kind of similar, the offensive lines, but what do you see coming out of this, the big takeaways that this team needs to address to get back to the top?
Yeah, so it's complicated. The Chiefs have kind of the winner's curse here, where they don't get to draft high up in the draft, which is where you want to draft your left tackles of the future, and so they've been stopgapping this for a while, whether it was trading for Orlando Brown Jr. for a couple years or, trying to plug and play a third-round pick or a second-round pick in there, whether it was Wanye Morris or Kingsley Suamataia. But, I mean, we saw this scenario play out after Super Bowl 55 where Mahomes was running for his life and they didn't have the offensive line. And basically the GM, Brett Veach, came out and said, this isn't going to happen again. And so they went and did reinforce our offensive line. I just don't know how they do it right now. It's really complicated because free agency, there's not much out there. They already have a lot of money tied up into their offensive line right now. When you look at Creed Humphrey and Joe Tooney and Jawan Taylor, they're already paying a lot of money to those guys. And then it's a bad offensive line for draft and for the draft. And plus, I mean, even if the Chiefs wanted to get up in the draft to, the 15 range or something, I mean, you're talking multiple first round picks because to get from 31 to 15 takes a lot of draft capital. So I don't know what they do here, to be honest with you. I mean, it'd be nice if they could find some sort of stopgap and maybe get themselves to next year and try again with the draft. But it is a weird scenario for them to be in with this particular Super Bowl. But outside of that, they need defensive linemen. They're losing a bunch of free agents there. They need a receiver. And then they don't have much room in salary cap. And they've got a bunch of guys that are going to free agency, whether it's Justin Reed, the safety, Nick Bolton, Trey Smith, who could reset the guard market. So it's a tough scenario to be in, but it sure seems like at the end of this offseason, somehow, some way, the Chiefs are going to have a new left tackle.
Let's talk about the guy that they're going to protect, and that is one of the greatest to ever play the game. Last two seasons, though, have been quite a bit different than the seasons that preceded it. In terms of Mahomes, who will turn 30 by the time we get into the first month of the season next year, what did you see from him this year, and is there any interest? Obviously, winning is paramount, and they've won everything, all the one-score games, all of it. I mean, the Super Bowl was kind of the one-off. I mean, they are who they are. But in terms of, is there any sense of getting back to, or will they ever return to the high-flying Chiefs that we saw for so many years with Mahomes?
Yeah, it's a really good question. They have definitely changed. You look at some of the advanced measures like average depth of target for him. He's been down at the bottom of the league the last couple of years. After when he entered the league, he was like second, chucking it way downfield. We all remember that Mahomes. I think a couple things are at play here that we need to talk about when we're talking about that. I think it's a compliment. He can adjust his style of play to be what's best for the team. And the last couple of years, the Chiefs, whether it was, a couple of years ago with the receivers they had, kind of a makeshift group, or last year where they had Rashee Rice, who was looking like he was going to have just an amazing year, go down with injury, and then Hollywood Brown went down in the preseason with injury. I mean, those were the two main guys in training camp. And so all of a sudden you're sort of asking your scheme to work for you, rather than your individual players. And so some of this is by design. Some of this is kind of making up and masking for other things out there. We got to mention left tackle too. I mean, the Chiefs were trying to mask for some left tackle issues as well late in last season when they moved Joe Tooney from left guard to left tackle as well. So I think part of that's going on. Part of it is, and we hear offensive coordinator Matt Nagy talk about this all the time, which is very interesting with Mahomes, which is he studies so much and he understands defenses so much that, like, if he sees a shell out there, a shell defense, and he knows, okay, I've got this guy going deep, but I can't throw it because I know there's going to be a defender there. Mm-hmm. I know some of what the Chiefs want from him is to be like, just let the play read out. You know what I mean? Let it go a couple seconds. See if Xavier Worthy, who's the fastest guy in the NFL, can still outrun that corner. And you saw some out in the Super Bowl when they got down, whatever it was, 40-6, where he just decided, they're way down. It's time to take chances, and they took some chances, and all of a sudden Xavier Worthy's coming down with these contested catches, these bombs in the end zone. It's almost like a light bulb went off to say, maybe there's more of this available even when it's not open. Patrick Mahomes has not been a contested catch quarterback in his career, but I do think they're going to push him next year to be more like, you need to take a few more chances, especially with this Worthy guy who can run by defenses. Now, we'll see if they sign Hollywood Brown back. He was only in here for a one-year deal, but if they had both those guys back and or Rashee Rice, I would see more weapons. I would see them passing downfield more often, but I think some of this is a mindset for Patrick Mahomes where he's just so good at reading defenses and taking what they give to him. He doesn't want to risk the football when maybe there are times out there where you can selectively take chances and try to hit on some big plays. They really didn't hit on many this season.
No, one of the reasons I think in addition to that was it seemed like Travis Kelce maybe lost a half of a step, which is not surprising given his age and how dominant he has been. What do you think about Travis Kelce, his future, and how much longer we'll see him in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform, if at all?
Yeah, he's got one more year of a contract. Obviously, he's got a decision to make and got about a month to make it. If he wants to help out the Chiefs with their salary cap situation one way or the other, I do think we'll see him back for one more year, guys. He loves the game. He loves being around his teammates. Part of what his issue is he's such an example for the younger players. Like, if you looked at the reports, like the injury reports for the Eagles and the Chiefs going into the Super Bowl like 2 weeks out, like the Eagles rested half their roster, that first week just to get guys ready. And okay, if you're a veteran, you take a rest day. And that's like the total opposite of what Travis Kelce does. He takes every rep in practice. If you're supposed to run to the end zone, he runs to the end zone after catching it. And so that takes wear and tear on your body. And we saw him last Super Bowl, 2 years ago when they won it. He kind of bounced back. He had this rejuvenation in the playoffs, all that sort of thing. And we didn't quite see that this Super Bowl from him. So he is getting older, you know what I mean? But I do think for him, it's either 1 year or retire now. And I think when he comes down to it, he's going to realize that for himself, he loves the game. He loves being around his teammates. He loves being in the locker room. And I think there's more he can give, whether it's from a leadership standpoint or a reliable target standpoint. We know that him and Mahomes have such good chemistry on the football field. I think he'll give it one more go-round and he'll retire after that. And if that happens, I think the Chiefs should be thrilled with that because, like I said, he serves so many purposes for them. Doesn't break tackles like he used to, doesn't get the yards after catch, but still a really useful player for them. And obviously the chemistry between him and Mahomes is something we haven't seen in the NFL for quite a while.
How was our guy Kareem Hunt while he was there? It was fun to see him back with the Chiefs, and obviously we loved him when he was here in Cleveland, but playing well for the Chiefs, especially, kind of down the stretch.
Yeah, he was really a revelation for them. I mean, I love talking to Kareem first off in the locker room and, wrote a story about him. And, he was pretty open with how, he tried so hard to get the Browns to the Super Bowl because as we know his history, he came in the league as a rookie with Patrick Mahomes. They got bounced in the playoffs that year. Then the second year was when he was released. And, the Chiefs went on and made a bunch of Super Bowls after that. So he was pretty open about it. He tried to get the Browns to that same place, thought he might not ever have it happen, and then, gets the call for the Chiefs this year and gets his opportunity and obviously relish in that opportunity. So, we talk about guys getting older, especially for a running back. You're 29, you do lose a step, you don't have that quick burst like you once did, but, he was their best running back at the end of the year. Isaiah Pacheco battled some injuries, and Kareem, you could just always count on if there were 2 yards there, he'd get 4 yards. If there were 4 yards, he'd get 6 yards. And he wasn't breaking many tackles, but he also was picking the right lanes to go to. And so I think that was one of the coolest stories of the Chiefs season, honestly, for him to get that second chance, for him to come back to Kansas City, and for him to be so open about what it meant to him. He was pretty emotional throughout this whole process about being able to get to a Super Bowl. We'll see what the future holds for him. He's another free agent, obviously, with the Chiefs, and taking back a 30-year-old running back might not be something that they do, but it was pretty from a personal standpoint, to know the redemption story that he could tell for himself to get back to a Super Bowl when he thought that might not be possible. That was one of the main themes of the 24-25 season for the Chiefs, and it was very interesting to see it play out.
Look, Jesse, as long as you have Mahomes and you have Reed, but especially the first one, you're going to be in the mix. What is the checklist? What's the dream offseason look like for them to get right back to where they are and then, bring it home the way that they weren't able to this past year in the Super Bowl? What's the perfect offseason recipe?
Yeah, like I said, they don't have many salary cap dollars. I know the salary cap's going up for everybody. So, it gives the Chiefs a little breathing room, but, still not great. listen, when you draft well and these guys get older, like guys like Trent McDuffie is due for a new contract extension, George Karlaftis, got to pay your own guys. And then I just mentioned all those guys that they drafted, like Trey Smith, Nick Bolton. You can't pay everybody, and they've been paying other guys top of the market, whether it's Chris Jones on the defensive line or Creed Humphrey at center. There comes a certain point where your money runs out. But I think, realistic, perfect offseason is for them to find some sort of stopgap at left tackle and then go high in the draft on defensive line interior to help out Chris Jones, to have another pass rush threat there, and then potentially be able to sign one of those other free agents, whether it's Nick Bolton, Justin Reed, or Hollywood Brown. But again, you're really stretching your budget to get all of that done, and that's kind of a best-case scenario. So these are sort of some of, again, the first world problems, the curses of winning Super Bowls and drafting late. I'm sure 31 other organizations out there would love to have these sorts of issues, but that's sort of what the Chiefs face right now, and if they can get all three of those things done, then it would probably be a really good offseason.
Jesse, great stuff. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. Greatly appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, there he goes. Jesse Newell of the Kansas City Star joining on the Twisted Tea Hotline, presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. All right, let's hit some of the categories on the Chiefs. Look, as long as you have Mahomes, you're in the mix. They have a chance to have a lot of weapons back. You get Rashee Rice back next year. They've got a chance. A healthy Pacheco, they're not going anywhere. They're going to be right there in the middle of all these things, and that people are going to want to play there too. That's the other part of it.
Get people to take a discount to choose the championship.
All right, favorite Chiefs uniform, Dr. Z?
I do like their all whites, white over white with the red helmet, and you got the red numbers with the yellow outline. I like those. I like their red over white as well. I don't love the all red as much, even though I'm typically a monochromatic guy. I don't like that all red, but the white over white with the helmets is very nice.
I like how the Hunt family's like, we're not doing anything else.
Yep.
This is it. We're the Kansas City Chiefs. This is what we look like, and that's what we're going to continue to look like. So, they've got a very clean uniform.
Yes.
I'm going to amend this one. What former Kansas City Chief would we want as a third co-host if we were to host Kansas City Chiefs Daily? So you have anyone from the Chiefs history to co-host with us?
Joe Montana.
If we hosted KCD.
Joe Montana.
What if he was even if he was terrible? Could you even talk?
He wouldn't be terrible. He'd be great. He's Golden Joe. He'd be awesome.
He was no NFL analyst like Steve Young was.
He was not. He's not. No.
Who?
Who's that?
Huh?
If we
They've got a lot of good ones to
use
choose
the
from.
powers of resurrection and bring Derek Thomas back to be our co-host, that would be a noble thing to do.
Len Dawson would probably be the easiest because he was a Big B broadcaster.
Huge B.
And he's an Alliance, Ohio guy, so that would be cool. They've got a lot of them that they could. I have not flown into the Kansas City airport. What am I dealing with? You haven't either. You just fly commercial. So have you ever flown in there commercially?
Oh, yes.
Kansas City?
I don't think I have commercially. I've flown with the team, and there's a second airport that's like close to downtown that we don't fly into. That looks nice. Kansas City it looks like you're in like the Cold War Eastern Bloc Europe. It's like a lot of concrete building. It's very strange. It's very strange.
Good entertainment, the Light District. Woo!
Good food.
You have yourself a night.
I've only driven through Kansas City. I was there once for a college football game. Florida State played Iowa State.
Yikes.
Oddly enough, at Arrowhead, like in the early 2000s.
That actually is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. But we didn't stay in the city. We stayed out. And so I don't really have any point of reference on like Kansas City. I've only been to like the stadium area, and you drive right through there on the interstate.
Yep.
Good food. Logistically, it's a pain because you land at the airport, and it takes like 35 minutes to get downtown, and then it takes another 20 to 25 minutes to get from downtown to the stadium.
Yeah.
It's
spread out.
Yeah, and I would think it would be. This kind of all folds together with the road trip. Like, would this be a fun place for Browns fans to road trip to?
It's very cool to see the stadium and experience Arrowhead and all of that, but it's not it's not a top half
See,
league destination.
I think it's cool, and I think it's the ultimate tailgate because there are no bars.
That's a good point.
It is just a giant parking lot that goes for miles, and it's just one big party. And the food
That's
is always
probably-
outstanding there.
I think
food is good.
And I think the ultimate tailgate is a good way to put it. And again, I've not been to a Chiefs game. I've only been to a college football game. But yeah, it was like, oh, there's no restaurants here.
Yeah.
Like we're tailgating it up. That was 20
there's
years
nothing.
ago.
You remember Gibbe when
yeah.
we played the year that we did the season opener there, and it was we were a 4:25 Eastern, I want to say, kick. We were the afternoon. We were like the national kick. That was 2021 week 1, and we had to go in early to I had to do TV early, like 6 hours before kick, and you went in and. There were already people in line to get into the parking lot,
so
even though it wasn't even open, and it was like impossible for us to even get in there.
So that year, this is the idiocy of the NFL in the year after COVID, in 2021. Like, I could be around the players Monday through Friday, but I wasn't allowed to travel with the team. We could only have 3 people on the team playing. So we put the broadcast team on so they would guarantee. So they would fly us into Kansas City. Zagura couldn't leave the hotel. We're going out. We're going out to restaurants. We landed. I'm like, let's go get some barbecue. Like, let's go hang out. So we had to fly into the airport, but that required us then on game day. We couldn't be on the buses. So we had our own driver for the weekend. The great Deb out of our travel department.
That's right.
Got us.
We were with a driver.
Oh, my God. We had a driver. They had my name in lights waiting when we got off I'm like, if this is how the whole season's going to go, this is going to be dangerous. But
it was definitely a better scenario for you.
Oh yeah,
than it was for me.
On countless trips.
Because then we would then spend, you and I and Jim would spend 5 hours together in a small box of a booth.
Yes,
and in Kansas City, it's a box of a booth with no open windows. The windows don't even. It's just
stupid.
They can't
The
come
dumbest press box known to mankind.
Because they're on an angle, you'd fall out. And so, but then we could go back and get on the plane, and you had to go your own way.
I back out a commercial flight, and by the way, you can't fly direct into the city. So I had to go Kansas City to Atlanta, Atlanta to Cleveland.
Oh, that's convenient.
That worked out really, really
probably had
well.
to come back on a Monday on that one.
Yeah.
You couldn't come back after that game.
No. We stayed. We had dinner. Shelby, who was in our community relations department, she's like, hey, I need a ride to the on game day, we had to go at it was 8 o'clock in the morning. Because the driver was like, I can't, we're going to have to wait in traffic. And he's like, I can't guarantee you I can get in. So our driver had to sit in the parking lot for 10 hours. We snuck him out food. I'm like, what else can we bring? He goes, I packed some peanut butter and jelly. I'm like, screw that. There's food here. We're going to run stuff out to you. So he was parked in the limo lot, which was not close. After the game, by the way, is that the game where Mahomes is dapping us up as he's leaving? And I'm like, I'm not even allowed to be near you. But okay.
Yes.
My Connexon thing is probably going off, but you just came up to me. So everybody leaves. We have to wait till everybody leaves so we can walk out. But I go to call our driver. I go, hey, where do we got to go to find you? He goes, great news. Just come out of the tunnel. Just come out. We walk out of the entrance, and he's parked in Andy Reid's parking spot. I'm like, I guarantee this is not legal. He's like, come on, let's go.
Let's go. Dude, fellas, next week will be the 5-year anniversary of
COVID.
That combine was the last thing before COVID.
Yeah, that should never have
5
happened.
years. No.
It should have never happened.
And I think we knew it kind of in the moment that it was, but yeah, crazy. The world all flipped. All right, which Chiefs player not named Mahomes would you want on the Browns, Z?
Chris Jones.
Yeah, he's the best. I was thinking about a case for Rashee Rice. Weapons. But yeah,
I love weapons, dude.
Yeah, it's probably Chris Jones. Who is your favorite Chief all-time not named Joe Montana?
I love how you circled back there. rephrased it.
I mean, the ones that I remember the most, Derek Thomas and then the Nigerian Nightmare, Christian Okoye.
Christian Okoye.
On Super Tecmo, Krishna Okoye and Barry Word together, formidable.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
very word.
Christian Okoye doesn't get the glaze that Bo Jackson gets on Super Tecmo Bowl, but he ought to. There's actually a place where you can see like their rating, and his break tackle was 100.
Yep.
And you would bounce off him the way you bounce off a Bo, except he was almost as fast. Okoye was unbelievable.
I would also add to that list Tony Gonzalez, big Tony Gonzalez fan.
I'm a big Patrick Mahomes fan. Patrick
Kelsey.
Mahomes, the first, not necessarily the way they do it now, the last 2 years, but the first 5 years of his career was as fun as I've ever had watching somebody play the position. Just to throw from any arm angle, every platform. He just changed the way you watch the quarterback position.
Totally.
Because stuff that you have never seen anybody else do, he could do. He doesn't do that as much anymore. And I thought actually he gave a pretty good answer when I asked him that about, will we ever get back to the old Mahomes? And how do you get back there? Or do they even want to get back there? Who knows? But he's a different quarterback now than he was 3 years ago.
Yes.
Can we also bring back, from a radio interview standpoint, a wide receiver that played for the Chiefs and, well, was on our roster for a year about 10 years ago? Dwayne Bowe.
Your boy.
Dwayne Bowe. Dwayne Bowe doesn't know why Dwayne Bowe didn't play.
He don't know.
I don't think he knows. I think he might know a little bit more. I'm interested.
That's one of the random artifacts I've got in my house from my Browns tenure. I have an autographed Dwayne Bowe jersey.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Chiefs
There you
jersey?
No, Browns.
Browns Dwayne Bowe.
But that was like,
That's a good one.
and that's one of the like that's when, we were in those strange unis.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. All right, there you go on the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll play a little thing or not a thing. Still going to open a mailbag for you as well. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk & Elk Serious Lawyers, Serious Injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time to play a little thing or not a thing. Hello, Gibby.
Howdy, boys.
Good to see you, buddy.
A pleasure. Good to see you all from afar.
Yeah.
It's all right. Better to be safe than sorry. We all got to be healthy next week. It's when it matters.
I got to coach. I'm coaching third grade basketball tonight, in which my kid is not playing in.
Down
A
for,
nice 7
down
o'clock
for 24.
game. Yeah, he's out. He's out till tomorrow. Hopefully, I need him back. I said you got to be back tomorrow at 10 a.m., buddy. Can't be.
No pressure.
Come on.
I mean,
need you
24
back.
hours. When did he come down?
Yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, you're
And
fine.
he's been on his protocols since this morning. So
Yeah, that's 24 hours. You're good.
Yeah.
Away we go.
yeah.
Rub
Do you
some
think
dirt.
it would be? Do you think it would be beneath me to have my fifth grader Beamsy suit up as a third grader and act like he's a third grader?
It depends on the team you're playing and the parents associated with said team.
They wouldn't know. It's a
Yeah,
team
but
we
are
haven't
these
played, so
are these people?
I mean, other than the fact
no,
that he
no.
would look
I mean,
like-
are these people the youth parents that you?
Oh no, they're great people. It would
Okay.
just be comedy to just unleash a fifth grader on a third grade basketball game
Absolutely.
and just let him run amok. It'd be pretty wild.
I'd like a
So,
video of that.
They both wear the same number. Who would notice?
No one.
Nobody.
We got a little thing or not a thing, and you guys will have the NFC part of this on
Okay.
Monday. But
Let's do it.
this was from ESPN. Bold moves for every NFL team. Okay?
right.
Now, our bold move, according to him, would be to not trade Myles Garrett. Well, duh.
No.
That
won't be so bold.
we're good. I'm
No.
pretty sure we've said not happening. So
No.
neither here nor there. But there were a few that definitely stuck out.
All right.
So, thing or not a thing, for the Bills' one bold move, he says, blow the Bengals out of the water with a T. Higgins trade offer. Would that be a thing or
What
not
would
a
that
thing
even
that
look
could
like?
happen?
I don't think that's a thing because I don't think they would send him there.
It's a great point out of you.
I just that doesn't seem like a thing to me. Like the Patriots, they probably if he leaves in free agency, he leaves in free agency. But if they're trading him, my guess is they're trading him to the NFC, not to somebody that they see as direct competition to their ability to get to a Super Bowl.
I think they're going to end up keeping him and Chase.
They should. They just
I
got
think they're
$26 more million than they thought they were going to have.
Yeah, I think they're going to end up with keeping him and Chase. So
They
I'm going to say
should.
not a thing. I don't think this is a very slim to no chance of this happening.
And by the way, teams don't make trade offers. It just would be so hard to make a trade offer that significant and then have to pay the guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Nope, I get it. Thing or not a thing for the Jets, trade wide receiver Garrett Wilson. Now, this is a
To
team
who?
that's probably going to cut Adams, Devontae Adams, and Alan Lazard before it's all said and done. But
I mean,
Wilson is eligible
what's
for a
the-
big contract extension, probably around $30 million a year.
So he's played 3 seasons in the league. He's over 1,000 yards every year. 83 catches, 95, and then 101 last year. So he's over and over 1,000. He's the offensive rookie of the year from 2022. I don't think that you should be in the habit of trading really good players.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I would not do this. I would say not a thing.
I do think it's a thing just because there's been so much smoke about it and that maybe he wants out himself. If that's true, maybe, but I would, if I were the Jets, no, sorry, you're not going anywhere.
No, me either.
Up next, thing or not a thing, the Bengals. One bold move should be to trade defensive end Trey Hendrickson.
They have 1 year left on the contract,
Yes.
and you're in the same spot they were in with Higgins, right?
He's
you trade for
31
him, and then
years
you gotta
old.
Get him and then you got to get him a contract.
And
That's
despite his
more
great
likely
season, the
because his
Bengals
age
suck
would not have the
defensively.
same. It would not have the same penalty with it.
Yeah.
Bengals
I think of the three, he's the least likely back.
Yeah. Bengals only have 6 draft picks, so they're saying build up the draft picks and retool defensively since you're putting all your money into the offense if you're bringing back both wideouts and you have Burrow.
They have a lot of stuff they got to sort out on the defensive side in addition to all this stuff. It's a monster. Their offseason is far more pressure-packed than even ours. Because they got a quarterback who's saying, you better prove to me that I was smart in signing this extension with you.
Yep.
And I need to see it.
Yep. I mean, if I'm them, you figure out a way to keep them all.
Yeah.
That's it. You figure out a way to keep all of them.
Up next on Thing or Not a Thing, the Squealers trade for quarterback Matthew Stafford.
No, not a thing.
I don't see any scenario where Matthew Stafford, who would be giving, I think, a great deal of voice in if he is traded where he's going, where he would choose to play someplace that wasn't climate controlled or predominantly nice weather. I just don't think he would ever have an interest in that.
Agreed. And you're going to a very difficult division.
Yeah.
Like, I know that what we talked about yesterday, Indy is a place that actually makes some sense to me. Good receiver talent, great running back. They've been close, good defense, dome. Division is, they got to feel like they could compete with Matt Stafford. They have Matt Stafford. They feel like they can compete with the Texans. Mm-hmm. And the Jags, Titans still seem far away.
I'm going to skip over the next
Why
two.
is he not a Ram? I don't get it. Why would he just have
I don't know
I think
why
he's going to
we're
be a
talking
Ram.
about
I think
blowing
this
up
is
the
all
Rams.
nonsense.
I
I think he just stays with the Rams.
Jeremiah thinks that if he goes anywhere, he's going to the Giants.
Yeah, his brother-in-law is like a communications person there or something.
Oh, jeez. Get the brother-in-law communication shot.
Oh, no,
with
he's the
Rams.
Giants' new assistant QB coach. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
There's that.
I don't know. I don't see it. I think he's a Ram.
I do too.
I'm going to skip the Texans trade for Garrett Wilson. I'm also going to skip the Titans not selecting a QB at number 1. I think we made the argument for us. I think the same probably applies for the Tennessee Titans. Go get your quarterback. You have the number 1 pick in the draft. Don't overthink it. To the AFC West we go. The Kansas City Chiefs cut tight end Travis Kelce. The Chiefs it would only cost them $2.5 million in dead money, while saving them over $17 million on the salary cap.
He's earned. No.
He's earned more than that.
He's earned more. He gets to go out on his terms.
Yeah. If he's done, then he'll be done on his own. They would never embarrass him on the way out the door. No. Too high quality an organization.
I would agree. Final one, the Los Angeles Chargers, their bold move for the offseason, trade for one Tyreek Hill.
Love it.
Oh, I love that. I just wonder what would that trade look like? What is the give to get Tyreek Hill?
Last year, 81 catches,
gave him,
959, and 6 touchdowns.
You got him coming off of a down year, a little bit of a malcontent. If I'm the Chargers and I'm trying to make a serious run at a receiver, though, I'm talking to the Jets. Give me Garrett Wilson. If Garrett Wilson really is available, that's you. All of a sudden, you got Garrett Wilson, you got Ladd McConkey, you got young guys that can be with, Herbert for a long time. That's much more interesting to me.
Yeah, I like that too. How old is DK Metcalf?
Young still.
He's 27.
Yeah.
And
there's talk that he could be available too.
Yeah, the Seahawks. The bold move for the Seahawks is to blow up the wide receiver room and inject some fresh things in there.
I'd like to see him with Herbert too.
Yes.
Give him a big target on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're ready to go. They're a receiver away from being absolutely ready to go. All right, there you go. Little thing or not a thing on a Friday. Coming up next, we'll open up the mailbag. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. OBM, the preferred provider of copiers and document services for the Cleveland Browns. They'll tackle any size office at 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Time for the mailbag. It's presented by the Cross Country Mortgage Company, official mortgage partner of your Cleveland Browns. When it comes to financing, they'll always get you home. Visit ccm.com today. Equal housing opportunity, NMLS 3029. Hello, Gibbe.
Gentlemen, hi. We had a few extra questions left over.
Let's
I
go.
wanted to get to them.
Let's go.
Also, some comments. Browns backers, North Jersey. Hey, Bo, sorry I couldn't get an answer to your Tony Soprano question from yesterday. I was glad someone did tweet in a response. Have a great day. And once again, I apologize. He also says
None needed.
maybe McShay, referring to Todd McShay, is hearing things from Bill Tobin's mailman who's as qualified as Mel Kiper Jr.
Good, nice drop in out of him. The Soprano sandwich. Had several people send it to me. It was a pickled, or no, it was a vinegar red pepper, vinegared peppers. It was capicola, which is gabagool. It's provolone, a little bit of olive oil, and some onions, and there you go. So
Interesting.
sounds pretty dang good. Yeah, it sounds like it'd be a win.
I'm into that.
He used to suck that thing down though, like he'd get that whole sandwich in one mitt.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Nope, I would agree. Let's see. What else did we miss here? From the clown that tweeted at us.
Yes.
Your boy.
Yeah. What's the most unusual item you own that has a good story behind it?
You got one, Z?
I do. So, when The Miz was a part of the greatest tag team of the 21st century with John Morrison, they were embattled in a feud with a very well-known wrestling family from Puerto Rico, the Colones.
Okay.
And the Colones they were talking a lot of trash, so they did a video where they made fun of the Colones, except they referred to them as the Colons. And when they did this, they were wearing masks that appeared to be buttocks. And they had wigs on the
I don't know
masks
where
of
this
the
is
buttocks
going, and I don't
that
know if
looked
I like it.
exactly like the two guys. So one guy had like a big thing of hair,
Yeah.
the other one had a little thing of hair and a mustache. And so they had that, and eyes were on the butt cheeks and everything. So they wore these kind of like butt face masks and pretended that they were the Colons. These items became available on WWE auction. And of course, how would I not want to have that piece
to
of
have
memorabilia?
that.
So I actually have one that's signed by The Miz that was one of the Colons. So
That's
fast
unreal.
forward to WrestleMania 26 in Phoenix at the Dome down there, and I'm in the front row wearing, because the Colons were involved in a pre-show battle royal, and while that's going on, I'm wearing this mask
That's amazing.
in the front row. I am approached by a WWE security person who I actually know at this point, because I've been doing enough of the shows they didn't know because I was in the mask, obviously. And I was asked, what are you doing? And I'm like, look, this has your guy's hologram on it. This is WWE merch. I bought it off WWE auction.
Yeah.
I said, this is from Miz and Morrison skit. And they started laughing. And apparently, McMahon was on the headsets and was like losing his mind, saying, I'm going to try to paraphrase in a way that I can say on the radio, but goodness gracious, there's a butt in row one. And he was like apparently furious about it. And then when I came and I told him, and then they like told him, and then apparently he went, ha 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 ha, let him wear it. So I still have that in my house.
That's quite good. That I will not attempt to top it. I do have in my office my uncle, when the original fence that was on the place that my great-great-grandfather homesteaded, when it was replaced, he took those fence posts, several of them, and cut them up into pieces and put the brand on it. And so I have in my office it's an 8-piece hunk of fence post from when we homesteaded. My great-great-grandfather homesteaded
like
in the early
that.
1900s.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
that's really
we do
cool.
have one of those. They put like the brand on it, so it's pretty cool.
He also has favorite Berea restaurants. I'm going to tell you Mike's down the street. go get the calamari. It's fantastic. And for a great dive bar, the Polish Village can't be beat. Although the Oriole's a close second. From Tommy Clayco, do you clear all your email notifications or just let them ride to see how high it can go?
I crossed the Rubicon. There was a point where I would clear them, and then I just got overwhelmed.
Yeah, same.
And so now it's huge, and I've given up.
Same.
Where's the worst place you've been stuck for a long time? I was in Duluth, Minnesota for a week. You can chalk that one up to being hot garbage.
Wow. That's bleak. I said, when we were doing the Broncos, like I was in the Denver airport for 24 hours with NBC when he was 2. That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
That was bad. He was he slept on my chest. I slept on the floor. Like that was brutal.
Yeah, that's a disaster. I mean, I would say this winter.
This winter in Northeast Ohio will do it. I damn near was broke this morning as it just kept snowing. I just went, my God, really?
Yeah.
More?
It's wild.
From Bobby, who was your favorite superhero as a kid?
Batman.
Spider-Man. Speaking of cool things I have, my uncle now, but my great uncle writes a comic strip that's in the Plain Dealer and newspapers all over the world called The Born Loser.
Oh, wow.
Good Lord.
And so when my great uncle passed, literally everybody came. Jim Davis, Stan
really?
Lee, everybody. And Stan Lee, I have something signed when I was born from Stan Lee and Spider-Man.
That's amazing.
Wow. I would probably say, because I looked at him as a superhero, Joe Montana. Hulk Hogan.
I don't even know.
Did you like superheroes as a kid?
I mean, I think
you were
so.
more
I
into
was
like Robin Hood and stuff, though, right?
I did love. Yeah, Robin Hood was great.
You were the Robin Hood to your father.
I was. I would say
he was more like the Nottingham to you.
Was G.I. Yeah, he's definitely the sheriff of Nottingham, or Guy of Gisborne. What about? Would you say G.I. Joe, a real American
No, not
hero?
superheroes. I think.
And I felt pretty cool.
Yeah, they were awesome. They were awesome. I guarantee you and I have the same answer to this. If you were a ghost, who or where would you haunt and why? Both of us would haunt our fathers. That'd be endlessly joyful.
I still would love. Yeah, I would still love to get both of you.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
For NFL Roundtable on a Friday.
Wouldn't you love to be a ghost and just screw with Pedro?
It would be unbelievable.
I'd love it so much.
My relationship, my father, we talk about basically 3 things: food and wine, football, sports, and then he sends me countless memes and conspiracy theories. And it's just sent me one right now. And I haven't even watched it yet, and I can't wait. That just says, yet another conspiracy theory turning out to be true.
They all are. See, wouldn't it be fun to haunt him? It'd be unbelievable.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
So much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, there you go, kids. We've done it. Next week, we got a show on a Monday, and then we are combine bound, baby.
Let's go.
Look, is that Connor with a K in the background behind you?
It
They
is.
all
Doesn't he
jacked
look
up?
great?
Video Jesus.
Look how excited
Not to be
he is.
confused with
His
photo
hair looks
Jesus.
phenomenal. Love on his face. He's
got great flow,
February,
doesn't he?
The month of romance. Look at him.
30.
Is this going to be the G-Man's debut in Indy, too? It's
Yeah.
all in play.
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
give him the dress code?
Connor's too good to go with this. But the G-Man is
or
all
smart.
in.
Look at G-Man just looming.
G-Man.
We're talking the G-Man and J-Mac. Everybody
Dr.
going.
J, too?
Oh,
15.
yeah.
15.
Oh, my
The
gosh.
whole crew's going.
Away we go.
Huge.
Away we go, kids. The next level's next. We're back next week. Have a great weekend. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.